and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. Today, Graham and I are going to take you over fertility analysis. Graham?
Okay, yeah, I just want to show you 4 sort of key reports. So this is, I promise, is only going to be 10 minutes, but I just want to make you aware a little bit of why these reports are important, how you can edit them. And just one other thing, sometimes when I log on and I look at people's dashboards, I think you should always have insemination rate, conception rate, and preg rate right on the front. If you don't know how to do that, you'll see the little cog sitting here. And if you go down, you can then select those 3. So I think these are really important ones. So yeah, maybe if you haven't got them on the dashboard, pop them on. Okay, cow's head, number 3, fertility. This is kind of the first report if we're looking at a new data set or before we do a training. It's one we'll always look at first, because it shows us pretty clearly what's happening in terms of cow numbers over a period of time. It shows us what's happening in terms of young stock, what age they're calving in, what the fertility success rate is like, and then it shows us the cows. Now, generally, you'll have this as a monthly report. If you want to change that, you just go to properties. You can select yearly, it could be quarterly, whatever. And on this herd, I'm just going to look at the last 5 years. And this is the default that I want to see in future. So I hit save settings, and away we go. Now this report is looking at the entire herd over a period of time. So it's not looking at cows that calved in 2017 or 18. That's a different report. It's looking at the whole herd and how they performed in these years. So what we can see is the cow numbers have gone up a lot. If we look at production, that's remained fairly stable. It dropped a little bit, as we can see there in 2020. If we scroll down, then we've got a really good overview of number of twins we've had, how many were born dead, how many died within 14 days. And then on the young stock side, we can start looking at age of first insemination. So these are being obviously getting good growth rates because they're being inseminated pretty young. And then we can look at the average age at first calving. So in fact, that's gone down. It's gone from 24 almost down to 22 months. So again, if we keep scrolling down, then we can start looking at the cows, and sort of key figures we're looking at there are average days to first service. Has that changed? Not really. Days to pregnant, yep, that's going in the right direction. Number of inseminations, that's a big difference. So we've gone from 2.6 inseminations to get a pregnancy in 18, and we've dropped that right down to just over 2 inseminations for last year. Then finally, on this report, we have the predicted calving interval. So again, we can see a big improvement on that. It's down to 366. This figure here, just have a look at that every so often. That's suspicious data. That's really just checking the quality of the data. So if it's picking up something you put in a calving and it was an abortion or something like that, the program will come up and actually just warn you of that. I think the data quality here is really, really good because we only had 14 bits of information in the entire year that the program's not too sure about. So that's a good indication to data quality.
So that's looking at it over a couple of years.
Yep.
How can you change the time periods to look over monthly?
Okay, so we could do it this way in properties, just as we changed it from monthly to yearly. We can then change it back. I just wanted to show you this as well. If you click on the bottom left-hand side of this report, you'll see here that we can actually look at it quarterly. So if I select 12 quarters, all animals, and I think this is a really good report because it was sort of shows variations throughout the year. So it's one that I definitely look at a lot. So that will now change it. So we're now looking at second quarter of 18, third quarter, and so on. So you can just pull it out like that. It will then go back to the default setting that you had before that. Okay, so that's the first report, and there we're looking over a period of time. I just want to make you aware of this one, 310. This it's similar, but it's slightly different, but it does have some fertility statistics in there that people are often looking for. They can't find it in 3.1 and then they think, oh, it's not there. What we're looking at here is basically, these are all the cows that calved in July, and we're following that group of cows through. So we see how many became barren, how many were served, how many were not pregnant. We can look at things like average days to first service for that group of animals. So it's very much analyzing a group of animals. We can then look at conception rates. Just be aware, if you see something in grey, that means we're still awaiting a result. And it could be something like just one cow has not been PD'd, and if you click on that, you'll be able to find the bit of information that we're waiting for. So it's just all the data isn't 100% completed. And then looking down here, we can see days to pregnant for these different calving months. And remember, if I go into properties, so if I select this guy here, again, I could change it. So I could look quarterly, yearly, however I want to do it. And then finally down here, we have the submission rates. So you can see there, voluntary waiting period, plus 21 days, or we managed to serve 89% of the April calvers within that period. If we take the second cycle, we managed to get 96%. So it's a similar report, but it is slightly different because we're following that group of animals.
Is there anywhere I can see a breakdown on sex semen?
Okay, that's a question that we get a lot on the help desk. Yes, there is a really good report. Funny enough, it's one of the older reports. So it's Insemination Analysis. I like this report because it shows clearly, are we kind of following protocols? If we say how many days to first service, it'll show the line here. We're saying that we plan to start serving at 45 days. And you can see this farm is really sticking to it. So each dot is a cow. The color denotes the success of that service. And we can see that we only had one cow who was actually served on day 20. So everybody is really following protocols in this one. We have Q sums as well, days to pregnancy, but what I wanted to show you was this report here, summary. And I think what a lot of people do is they look at the reports and they do that, and they may print it off, and then they close it because they just think, okay, all right, it's an interesting report, the Q sum. I like to see it. Each dot is a service and denotes a service for a cow. If the line goes up, she held. If the line goes down, she didn't hold. The gray bit here, we see everything's not holding. That's because we haven't done any PDs. We only know the services that were unsuccessful because the cow was served again or we saw a bulling. So that's just a reflection of the fact that we haven't done any PDs from this date onwards. So our target line there is 2 inseminations, and we can just follow for specific periods, how well we're doing. But I digress a little bit. This is page 1 of 10. So if you go across, you'll see it's a real it's a pack for the vet to look at, I guess, or the advisors to look at. But then it will break down the individual bulls that you've used. And then finally, to answer your question, if I get to this one here, 9, it then gives a summary for all the sex semen and the normal semen that I've used. Then we can see the success rate. So in fact, the sex semen has done really well. We can see the overall success rate, but also what I like is you can see which animals have been inseminated. So you can see, did we use it on the young stock? Did we use it on the first calvers or the cows?
Okay. And where can I go to find the preg rate?
Okay, so as we said right at the start, we can have the preg rate on the dashboard, but when we really want to start analysing it and looking at it throughout the year, then we need to go into here, number 11, Fertility KPIs USA. 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it based on days in milk or by calendar dates. And to get that, you'll see you have the 2 options. I tend to do it by calendar date. Really, I don't know, it's just my brain works. I quite like looking and seeing how the insemination rate actually fluctuates throughout the year. So what you've got here is week 40 to 42. That's a 3-week window. We can see the number of animals eligible to be inseminated, and then we can see how many we actually served. So it's really high insemination rates here, really good. So 84%. So are we serving enough of the cows? And if we're serving enough of the cows, are we getting them in calf? Well, the answer is to this farm is yeah, very much so, because it's a really good preg rate, super high, 31%.
So is that cows and young stock on that report there?
Good question. No, what it actually is, you have the option to analyse either calved or to analyse the young stock. Okay. So you can choose either, but we're looking at the calved cows. We can also, if we go to properties, as ever, we can change things like the voluntary waiting period here. We can change either the barn groups we want to analyse or the management groups we want to analyse. And we can also select the period and whether we want to look at 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or 9 weeks. Generally, it's going to be, we're going to look at 3 weeks. And just finally, the other thing that I like to be able to do is to go to conception rates. And then what we can do is, if you see group by, these are all the ways that we can analyze it. So we can break it down by the lactation number. You know, first calf is better than the second calf, is better than older cows. So we'll just have a quick look at that. So we can see how the conception rate fluctuates based on lactation. We can then start looking at the individual inseminators, the individual bull, even the day of the week. And we can also, if you're doing a managed heat and you're selecting that when you inseminate the cow, so you're saying the type of managed heat you've used, this is the place that you'll go to actually compare basically natural heats with managed heats and see what the success outcome's been. And if you use split into periods, you're also able to break that down. So you could look, for example, at a particular inseminator in a particular month. So there's a lot of ways that we can analyze data in the UNIFORM program on fertility. I hope that gave you an overview. As ever, there will be a movie that goes out. There will be a very short survey at the end, which if you could fill it out, I'd really appreciate it. Please give us a call if you'd like us to go through any of these reports logging onto your PC, because we'll do that with pleasure. And next week, we're quite excited because we will be launching something that Emma's been working on. So over to you, Em.
Yeah, I'm going to steal the mic off Graham next week and go through our e-learning launch, which is you'll all have a login where you can access all the learning materials on how to enter data individually against an animal or as a batch. All of the information you require, such as managing your suppliers, entering PDs, dry-offs, all of that is available on our online academy. So if you've got any staff that require extra training, or if you've got any new starters, or if you want just something there to refer to, if, for example, we're closed, like we are on the bank holidays, we'll go through that next Wednesday on the 7th of April in our webinars.
So there should be an invite coming up on the message board. So yeah, as Em said, if you do have any new stuff or anything you think it would benefit from a brush up, that's what the webinar next week will be on. Okay, just check if we got any questions. Nope, we're looking good. So thank you very much for your time, and Emma will handle it next week.